Well, welcome. My first media day as a head coach, but it's an exciting time, exciting week. It's game week. We had our last dress rehearsal last Saturday night with the alumni. I thought it was a great turnout, and the roster that we faced was pretty good. We had some guys a lot of guys are still actively playing. It was a good test for our team. Moving forward, we got New Jersey Tech coming in, a team that it's a veteran team. A team that was tested quite a bit last year. The record wasn't great, but it was a team that put up a fight. Every game was a good game, So it's going to be an exciting weekend and give us an idea of where we're at, and be fun to face a different color uniform. But I'm excited about the team. I'm excited about the options that this roster gives us. A lot of guys, a lot of moving parts, a lot of guys that can play different positions. And same thing with the staff. It's going to be a veteran rotation. It's definitely going to be the strength of our pitching staff. Will be the starting rotation. The bullpen it's kind of falling into place, and people are getting more and more comfortable with their roles. It was a big concern in the fall, but the guys came back this spring and have shown a lot of improvement and development, and definitely feel a lot better about the bullpen than where we were back in November when we ended the fall. So. I think you're going to find it's going to be an exciting team to watch. A team that's going to play hard. Don't have too many big names right now because a lot of new names, but I promise you, before they're done here, they're gonna leave their mark on this program. So I'm excited about this team.
J.D., you mentioned the rotation. Just you have your first weekend rotation set.
Yeah. So Gage Zeal is going to be our Friday night starter. Rafe Schlesinger will go game 2, and then Herrick Hernandez will go game 3. It's kind of we got a 4-game series. Obviously, we got UCF coming in next weekend, with our starters not being stretched out to the 100 pitch limit yet. We're going to kind of hold off on that 4 starter and see who we might have to use those first 3 games. It's either Vargas or Chestnut. If we got whoever we have to use those first 3 games, we'll start on Wednesday. Whoever we don't use, we'll start Sunday, game 4.
And then with Gage, how has he kind of grown? And obviously, he was in that Friday night role a bit last year. How has he grown as he goes into his 3rd year?
Well, he's a guy, we lost a lot of innings from last year's team, but Gage is the one guy that comes back with the most experience by far, and he started the season last year as our Friday night starter, lost his job for a few weeks and then came back and ended the season there, was our most consistent guy in the rotation last season. So, he's a guy that just brings an instant, credibility and leadership in the pitching staff.
Sticking with the pitching staff, since that's what we used to ask you about.
Yeah.
The closer situation, is that set in stone? Like, you have a guy who's really above everyone else, or is it still going to be sort of see how guys do as we go along? And do you have a first option right now?
So starting the season, Drew Dwyer is going to be our closer. Drew, we expected, or we thought was going to be one of our starters. He had a minor setback late in the fall, so he's not quite. We weren't able to build him up inning-wise or pitch-wise to be a starter. So he was going to start in the bullpen anyway. We just figured if you're going to be in the bullpen, it might as well be our closer to start the season, and we'll see how that goes. If he has success there, he'll probably stay there. If he doesn't, we'll have to make some moves and figure it out accordingly.
Obviously, some big bats gone from last year. Yo-yo, most among them. Like, who've been some of the guys who stepped up at new position, new starting roles?
I think some familiar faces that are coming back. I'd say Dorian Gonzalez has had a very good fall and spring. So he's kind of stepped his game up. He was our starting second baseman his freshman year. Lost his position last year to Blake Sear, but he's really had a great summer in the Cape. You just see him. He's playing like a veteran, so he's playing, a guy that a familiar name, right? Other than that, it's a lot of new faces, a lot of new names. Daniel Cuvée, freshman at third base, has been very impressive and kind of lived up to the hype of what he's supposed to be. So he's one of those names that you're going to be very, very familiar with in a very quick, amount of time. J.D. Urso is a player that we brought in January. He's a grad transfer from University of Tampa. Just a really, really good baseball player, and he's shown his effects, instantly just on the bases. He's not the fastest runner, doesn't have the best arm, not the most physically talented player that we have on our roster, but by far our best baseball player that understands the game and takes advantage of other people's mistakes and little things like that. So he's a guy that a guy like Antonio Jimenez could really learn from, playing the same position. And Antonio has all the ability in the world, but he's a freshman, and when he catches up and learns all the little intricacies of the game and base running and things like that, he's going to be a special player to watch as well.
J.D., what do you think is the identity of this team you see so far, first team?
To be a scrappy team, it's a team is going to put pressure on defenses, on the bases. We're not the fastest, right? But it's an aggressive. You're going to see an aggressive style of baseball on the bases. I'm sure we're going to run into some outs at times, but the defense is going to have to make a play to get us out. You know, it's not going to be reckless, but it's going to be aggressive, and we're going to force the defense to stop us from taking the extra 90 feet.
Blake obviously had a very impressive freshman year last year. How has he, improved maybe from last year?
Offensively, he's special. He's got, some special abilities that not many guys have. So, as far as improving, he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger. So his pitch recognition has gotten better. But he's got his own challenges, right? He's, like you said, we lost a lot of hitters. He was pretty well protected last year, where he's going to be the focal point to every pitching staff that we face. So he's got some challenges ahead of him, and he's got to understand that he doesn't have to do everything, and just not get into a position where he's getting himself out swinging at bad pitches and things like that. So it's definitely be a different type of season for him.
Coach, for the first month of the season, you really don't leave town till March 22nd when you head up to South Bend. What's that like, being able to kind of stay down here in South Florida and get the team situated to start the season?
It feels like the 90s again, when we played 50 home games and 6 road games all season long. So it's just the way that the schedule worked out, having Florida at home this year, and then I guess our first 2 ACC weekends are at home. That's just the way the schedule worked out. So definitely playing better weather. That's nice. Then we get the shock treatment when we go to South Bend in March, where it could be a snowstorm or it could be 70 degrees. Who knows? But it's definitely a nice thing for a team this young to be able to play in front of their home crowd and kind of get their feet wet and get comfortable with college baseball.
Coach, during these first few weeks of the season, how are you going to, all these new players, how are you going to approach kind of just experimenting a little with the lineups and the rotations, kind of figuring out what works early in the season?
Well, it's going to be exactly that, experimenting, moving some guys around, different roles, different lineups, lefty, righties, and the game has a funny way of figuring itself out, and the lineups kind of settle in when guys do their jobs and really take control of a position or a role and just kind of run with it, right? The less changes you have, the better. That means the guys that are in there are getting it done. But early on, you just kind of just move guys around and figure out what works and what's the best chemistry and have your best 9 players out on the field.
Coach, what are you most excited for in your first season here?
Just probably that first lineup exchange, right? It just I wrote out my first real lineup, I guess, on alumni game on Saturday, and that was not an easy task. I think there were like 6 or 7. We kept tearing them out or throwing them out and starting over, but just excited to be in this role and really represent and lead the program that I just love being a part of my whole life. So it's just an exciting time for me.
What do you mean you wrote 6 or 7 different lineups, and you're like, you wanted to change this guy?
Yeah, I just I can't leave this guy out, and how might this the order, and just trying to figure it out. So that so far has been the most challenging part of the whole thing, is trying to figure out the right 9 guys in the position and the batting order and things like that. So, and it's not getting any easier, because again, there's a lot of parity up and down our roster. Anybody could play at any time. So the spirit of competition is special. It really pushes guys to be better, and there is a lot of competition within this roster, and anybody could play.
J.D., every team goes through challenges. How confident are you this team in being very competitive, especially against the big boys that you guys always face?
Well, yeah, challenges are always going to come up, right? At this game, life is easy when things are going right, but the reality that challenges are going to present themselves, that's an obvious. I think we've prepared them pretty good as far as the competition that they go through each and every day, overcoming the good days and the bad days. And it's going to be challenging, I get it, but it's how a team reacts. And I think what I've seen so far with this team and these players individually, they've done a good job of answering that bell when things aren't going their way and aren't going right, just kind of responding the right way and just fighting through things.
In your first season as the head coach, how are you going to lean on your assistant coaches or other people helping you out?
Quite a bit. I mean, I've said a number of times I got a great staff, and I need all the help I can get, and that's why I work so hard in hiring what I think are the right guys and the best guys for me. So I got to let them do their job. If I don't, then I didn't hire the right guys. So, but I'm definitely leaning on guys like Rob Cooper, that's got 19 years of head coaching experience, and Darren Fenster with all his experience in professional baseball, and Laz Gutierrez and Brewer, and I mean, all of them. Jonathan Anderson has been a part of this program longer than I have. He was a bat boy since '92. So it's a great staff, and I'm definitely going to lean hard on all those guys, and it's definitely a collective group effort. Any success that we have is going to be as a group.
like Drew Dwyer's 7th year in college baseball brings to a clubhouse full of freshmen?
Well, he's done a little bit of everything, so we felt comfortable with making him the closer right off the bat, even though that wasn't our original plan. He was a closer 2 years ago at Lynn University. He was a starter last year. This is his last hurrah, right? There's no more years for him. It's the 7th year, like you said, and he's just willing to do whatever it takes to win and be a part of this team and help us be the best team we can be.
Coach, you got 12 freshmen on the team. You mentioned Cuvée. Who else do you expect to step up this year for you guys?
I think Jimenez is going to, at some point, he's going to play a big role. I think on the mound, Nick Robert has had a really, really good fall and spring, and just one of those guys that every time he's taken the mound, he's gotten better and better, and just does everything right. Vargas is another right-hander. Like I said, he's in consideration for that number 4 spot. He's going to start one of the 5 games that first week. So I think those guys right there are probably the names you're going to see first. Kulikowski in the outfield is going to be a special bat, a special talent. That he's also going to, at some point this season, and again, how soon, I can't really answer that. But when he kind of gets in the lineup and gets rolling, he's going to be a guy you're going to hear a lot about.
We'll do a couple more for J.D.
J.D., you have a number of players from high school, either JUCO, just different levels coming into this, in smaller college, JUCO, whatever it might be. What are the challenges of producing at this level, particularly given the ACC conference?
I think understanding the game is the same game they've played their whole lives, and there's always a message I put out there to my freshman pitchers over the years. Those that try to do more because they're at a higher level are the ones that struggle. When they realize that it's the same game and they have the ability to slow the game down, those are the ones that have success right away. You don't have to play better because you're here. You just got to do the little things more consistent. That's the only difference, really. They don't have to throw any harder, throw a better breaking ball. They just got to consistently do the right things over and over and over again. And those guys that are able to do that and slow the game down and understand that it's still 60 feet 6 inches and 90 feet, and they still got to catch the ball and throw the ball. Those guys will be fine. They don't all get it right away. The quicker they do and understand that they're good enough to be here, those are the ones that are going to be successful and contribute more from the get-go.
Coach, what does it mean for you to, after 20 years as a pitching coach, finally be stepping into this role as head coach? We know with opening day just a couple days away.
It was never a plan of mine, right? It wasn't like my goal was to be the head coach here. I just came here and showed up every day and did my job and tried to win for a program that I love. Whatever role I have, I wouldn't do it any different. It's just a blessing to be able to sit here in front of you guys and be the head coach. But it wasn't a plan of mine. It wasn't an end game or an end goal. Something that, once it became available, obviously I wanted more than anything else. But it just fortunate, and it means so much to just be able to be a part of this program for so long. I'm just grateful for it.
Any thoughts on the namesake milkshake?
Well, it's called the Be the Light. Obviously, it's named after my son and our foundation, and he loved the Oreo and Nutella combination. That's a little funky, but that's what he loved, and that's what we're going with. I'm going to try not to have too many of them, but that's what we're going with.
For the first series on Friday, do you have kind of a sense of how the team is feeling in the clubhouse? They're excited, a bit anxious after this offseason to play?
I think excitement is probably the biggest word, and anxious. You saw it a lot on Saturday night. I thought our hitters over the course of our inter squad have done a great job of swinging at strikes and not chasing pitches out of the zone. And we faced some pretty good pitching on Saturday, but we struck out 15 times, and a lot of those strikeouts were just swinging at pitches that weren't even close. And those are all signs of overexcitement and anxious and trying to do a little bit too much. So that's why it's always nice to play that one game under the lights and we try to mimic what a game day is going to be like as much as possible, and just kind of get those nerves out of the system. I'm sure there'll still be the butterflies on Friday night. I know I'm going to have them, but it's no different as a head coach or pitching coach or freshman second baseman. It's if you don't have those butterflies, that means you don't care and you're not in the right place. So every game is it's an exciting game.
Awesome. Thanks, J.D.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.